Hello, my name is Emma Murray. I'm a medical doctor and I work at the Lipid Clinic in the Belfast Trust. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about diet and lifestyle measures that can help in lowering cholesterol levels. So there are a number of different things that you can do to help reduce your cholesterol level, particularly the bad cholesterols such as LDL and triglycerides. And that's important because it can help us reduce our risk of heart disease and stroke in the future. So the first thing we could talk about is diet. So diet can be very important in helping to reduce our LDL and triglycerides. And we would normally recommend a Mediterranean diet. So a Mediterranean diet not only will help in reducing the cholesterol, which can help reduce our risk of heart disease and stroke, but it also has lots of other health benefits. And it can help with giving good sources of omega-3, potassium and other vitamins and minerals as well as fibre. It's very similar to the Eat Well chart, which you can see and find on the Chest, Heart and Stroke website. So if you want more information, you will find it there. But to summarise the things that we would recommend, we would normally advise to eat at least 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day. We would advise reducing processed meat, so that's things like bacon and sausages, to try and reduce that intake in your diet, and reduce red meat, so things like beef, mince, for example. So try and reduce those, and there are other sources of protein that you can take, things like eggs, pulses, beans, etc. So another really good source of protein is fish. Fish contains omega-3. And that's really good for cholesterol. So we would advise taking at least 2 portions of fish a week, and ideally if one of those could be oily fish. On top of that, we would advise reducing saturated fats, so things like butter, to try and reduce our consumption of those, to take less if possible. And you can replace them with things like mono or polysaturated fats such as oils for cooking. Things like olive oil or rapeseed oil are a good source. We'd also advise reducing consumption of very high sugary foods or drinks and try and take as little of those as possible. And those, if we can do those, that's a really good way of helping to keep our cholesterol reduced. If you're on a diet for another health condition, please consult your healthcare professionals for further advice to ensure that the Mediterranean diet is suitable for you. The next thing that's important to consider is exercise. Exercise is very important for our general health, but it's also any form of activity is good to help keep our cholesterol levels stable. And we would recommend following the National Public Health Guidance regarding exercise. So for adults, this would involve at least 150 minutes a week of moderate activity, or 75 minutes a week of more strenuous activity. And usually we would recommend a combination of different types of exercise. So we would consider things like aerobic exercise, things that might make us a little bit or more out of breath. So that could be brisk walking or running, swimming, for example. And then we would recommend using muscle strengthening exercises. So that could be going to the gym and doing weights. It could also be exercise that helps with our balance. So things like yoga, for example, or Pilates. You don't have to always go to the gym. There are lots of things you can do around the house. So things like gardening or lifting heavy bags, that all counts. And we would recommend doing trying to spread your exercise so you're not doing it all in one go. So if you can incorporate it as part of your general day-to-day activities, so for example, walking to work or walking to the shops, cycling, those all count in trying to spread it through the week. For children, we would recommend moderate or rigorous activity, at least 60 minutes a day, and hopefully they'll be able to do that as part of school or activities outside of school. I would recommend, think about activities that are happy and joyful to do. So if there's a sport or something that you really love to do, try and get involved in teams or even exercise as a family. And we know that regular exercise can help to increase our levels of good cholesterol like HDL. It also helps us maintain a healthy weight, which is very important for cholesterol, and it has additional other health benefits, such as reducing the risk of high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes. The third thing that we'd recommend considering is weight management. So we know that if required, even a small reduction in weight can have a big benefit, not just for cholesterol, but for your health. And research would suggest that if required, even a weight loss of 5 to 10% of your body weight can reduce the harmful cholesterol such as LDL and triglycerides, as well as reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease and stroke. And we also know that it has additional benefits in other health areas such as reducing the risk of certain cancers. So weight management is very important, and there are a number of things that we would recommend. Apart from the diet that we've discussed and exercise and doing regular exercise, there are a few other things. Setting realistic goals, so a small amount of weight loss per week over a longer period of time is far more likely to be successful and sustainable. We'd recommend keeping a food diary and planning meals ahead. Joining groups can be very helpful, and we know that people are more likely to lose weight and sustain weight loss if they're doing it as part of a group. Or there are different apps that you can use to help set goals and to remind you to do exercise or meal planning, etc. And these are all very useful tips for losing weight. So the final thing I'd like to talk about is alcohol and smoking. We know that excessive alcohol intake can increase our harmful cholesterols, particularly triglycerides, which can increase our risk of heart disease and stroke. We would recommend following the national guidance regarding alcohol intake, which would be less than 14 units for men and women per week. We would also recommend that rather than taking alcohol or binge drinking, that you would spread alcohol intake over 3 or more days a week, which is likely to be more healthier in the long run. Finally, smoking. So not only is smoking an independent risk factor for heart disease and stroke, but it can also affect our cholesterol. It can lower our levels of good cholesterol or HDL, and it can also increase the risk of plaques forming, and we call this atherosclerosis. And this is what leads to heart attacks and stroke for many people. So the single best thing you can do to reduce your risk of heart disease and stroke is to stop smoking. And if you wish to think about stopping smoking, there are lots of things that can help. And we would advise chatting to ourselves, either at clinics, chatting to your GP or other healthcare professionals who can guide you about smoking cessation services or nicotine-containing products that might help in stopping smoking.